Not like I had very much journalistic integrity or pride to begin with, but it's our great pleasure to welcome in the Hall of Famer, Houston Oilers legend, Warren Moon, as I'm dressed as a mayonnaise costume or a mayonnaise jar today in celebration of Will Levis's first career win. Warren joins us on Zoom for those of you watching on Zone TV. Warren, it's our great pleasure to have you today. How are you, sir?
Well, I'll excuse you today only because it's Halloween, but if I see you in that same outfit come Friday, then I'm going to start having problems.
There's just, like, you can't imagine my shame more than this was on trade deadline day. There's probably going to be some news. I don't know if it's going to be the Titans. I don't know if it's going to be something else, but that all of this is done now on camera. I'm sure the internet is not going to be kind, but that's not what we're here to talk about. You were in attendance for homecoming week for the Houston Oilers Tennessee Titans franchise. You were able to witness the debut of the rookie quarterback in what was as impressive as any other rookie that's come before him in NFL history, with some names like Fran Tarkenton and Marcus Mariota included on that list. 4 touchdowns in his rookie debut. I guess to start, Warren, what did you make of Will Levis?
Well, first, let's talk about those uniforms. I think that had something to do with the way the whole team played that day. I think it really inspired them and inspired the crowd. And Will went out there and he showed a lot of poise for a young guy under his first start. He showed, a lot of great pace in the huddle as far as how he got the team in and out of the huddle. He didn't have any delay of games or anything like that. A lot of young quarterbacks might have in a game, sometimes not getting the play out in time and all that. So he did a lot of good things before he started throwing the football that you look for in a young guy playing the game for his first time. So I was really impressed with him. And then everybody knows he has the big arm, and he showed that big arm early in the ball game and had a great relationship with
Hopkins.
With Hopkins, excuse me, and they acted like they've been playing together for 2 or 3 years together. So what a great debut for him. The only thing that it does is it just sets those expectations so high now. People are going to expect him to go out and have to throw 4 touchdowns every week, and we all know it doesn't happen like that.
Warren, it's impossible to play bad football in those uniforms. I'm convinced.
Well, it's impossible not to throw good deep balls in those uniforms. I know that.
That's exactly right. The Hall of Famer Warren Moon here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So the degree of difficulty on some of these throws, though, Warren, like in particular the final of the 4 that he threw to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine across his body. The velocity, the way that the ball just comes off of his wrist, just flies off of his wrist that way, that's not something that you're able to coach. That's not something that you're able to teach. That is talent that, as what will continue to be tracked and documented and coached and things like that is how he fine-tunes that particular skill set of his. But there's maybe, I would say maybe 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the NFL that are even capable of making some of the throws that I saw Will Levis make almost routinely on Sunday.
Yeah, and a lot of those throws, and I look at a lot of footwork when I look at quarterbacks, and a lot of times his feet weren't even, properly set when he threw those balls. He was throwing them almost with all arm and all wrist. That even it was kind of a half rollout to the right, and he threw all the way back to the left end zone. That ball, he had a guy right in his face when he let it go. He wasn't able to really step into that throw, and that ball was in the air probably 65 yards. So he has a tremendously strong arm. He showed great accuracy with that strong arm as well, and that's more important than having a strong arm, is being able to hit the target that you're trying to throw at. If he's able to do that, can have the same accuracy but also have that strong arm, he's off to a great start in his pro career.
Warren Moon here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You can follow him on Twitter at WMoon1, the 9-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL passing yards leader, kind enough to break down some Titans football with us. As you said, the expectation now is going to be so unrealistic for him, and Titans fans, I think, are just excited because this offense hasn't had that kind of a spark, at least. They've had moments against the Chargers and the Bengals, which were 2 quality wins against AFC opponents. But it had been a struggle, especially the downfield passing game, and that really seemed to breathe new life into a lot of elements that this team put on display on Sunday, Warren. But Pittsburgh is a different test. Pittsburgh is a different level of defense that they will face. And certainly T.J. Watt is the only reason that he's not the best defensive player in football this year is because of the existence of Myles Garrett. This is going to be a different challenge for him, not just Pittsburgh, but following that up with an additional 2 road games.
Yeah, it is going to be a challenge because not only do they bring Watt on one side, they bring Highsmith from the other side. So they've got 2 outside rushers that can really get to the quarterback, put a lot of pressure on you. That's a tough environment to play in Pittsburgh because the crowd really gets into the ball game and it really adds to the energy of their football team and especially the defensive side of it. So yeah, there's going to be his next test. Every time Will goes out there, it's going to probably be something new for a while that he hasn't experienced before. So this will be another good challenge for him, coming up on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers team that's playing pretty good football right now.
You mentioned the importance of footwork and how you and others who evaluate the quarterback position hone in on the footwork. The importance of having your feet married to your eyes, I guess, and how you kind of progress that as a quarterback. Obviously, this fan base has seen Malik Willis. There are some things that Malik is just not able to do as a functional starting NFL quarterback right now, and that was one of the things that I know he had spent a lot of time, put in a lot of work this offseason to try and improve, and has improved incrementally, but to see Levis do that without, I don't want to call it proper footwork, but to do it without close to perfect footwork, Warren, it brings up the question of how somebody like you or people who study the quarterback position kind of put that into context for an audience who's saying, okay, well, what's the difference between these 2 players? Why is it working for one and not the other?
Well, this is something he's probably been doing for a long time, probably all the way back to high school, and he's able to get away with it. But I'm sure there are times that when he doesn't have his feet properly set and he tries to throw the ball without that, he gets in trouble too as far as accuracy, maybe throwing interceptions. I'm not really sure. There was a couple of throws there on Sunday where he didn't get his feet set and he threw some inaccurate football. So everything wasn't perfect the other day, but I think everybody notices the big throws that he made. And even the one to DeAndre Hopkins coming across the middle, he kind of reached back and caught that one, made a great catch out of it and turned it into a touchdown. So that's what a great receiver can do for you. He can make his quarterback look a little bit better than what he is, but I don't want him to get lazy with his feet and always expect that he can throw the football like that all the time. You always want to try and get your feet properly set. It's going to make for a much more consistent, accurate throw. But there are times when you aren't going to get your feet in the proper position because of pressure or whatever. And if you're able to make those type of throws like he did, that's a great thing to be able to have in your toolbox. And Patrick Mahomes is a great example of that. He's a guy that doesn't always have to have his feet properly set or whatever, but he can still make an accurate throw. But it's gotten him in trouble at times too. So it's something you want to always constantly work on as a quarterback is your footwork, because that footwork, like you said, works in unison with your eyes. And if your feet are in unison with your eyes, you're going to get accurate footballs when you throw the football.
It's always so interesting to me to talk, and Warren Moon, the Hall of Famer, here with us on 104.5 The Zone, to talk to people about the quarterback position and the difficulty of evaluating the quarterback position. We know how imperfect a science the draft process is and how much geography, for example, has to do with whether guys succeed or fail. Where they land, oftentimes the best quarterbacks go to the worst teams in the draft, and it's incumbent upon as much upon them to pull themselves out of a bad situation, their team out of a bad situation, as it might be the franchise that they've been drafted to. So I wonder how somebody like you who came through it at a time where there was not many people, if anybody, playing the position the way that you did, Warren, and airing it out the way that you guys were able to, and how coaches kind of coached you without trying to change who you were as a player based on how they thought you should play the quarterback position versus what worked the best for you individually, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I did have some coaches in the beginning that tried to do that and tried to, change me and make me something different than I was. And then when we had a coaching change, I think when June Jones came in as my quarterback coach, and then after him, Kevin Gilbride, those two guys just kind of let me play the game, but they still coached me as far as the fundamentals. And I was a guy who always wanted to be fundamentally sound as a quarterback too. So I worked on those things a lot in the offseason. That's something I didn't want to be lazy at, but I still had the ability sometimes when my feet weren't right to make those type of throws because my arm was strong enough. So yeah, a lot of it has to do with the environment that you're put in as a young quarterback. A lot of it has to do with who's coaching you, what type of offense you're put in, and then what type of players are around you that are going to help make your job a little bit easier. All those things go into it, and that's where you see young quarterbacks that are successful and some young quarterbacks that aren't successful because all those things don't come into tune sometime.
How much did you enjoy this weekend?
I loved it. I love that weekend every year, and it just gets better every year. I think Amy's done a great job of making all the guys feel like they have a home to come to every year. This year we had 170 guys come back. That's a ton. It was the biggest crowd we've had so far. Everybody really appreciates what she's doing, and I think she's doing a fantastic job. Now we just got to get that football team turned in the right direction, and everything will be just the way you want it to be.
Warren, I know you did not technically play with Billy White Shoes Johnson, but he's getting inducted into the Titans Ring of Honor, joining you later on in the year. I'm curious if you could give us a rating of Nick Westbrook-Akine's Billy White Shoes dance after the long touchdown from Will Levis.
There's only one Billy White Shoes that can do that, but that was a pretty good rendition, I think. Billy just had he just had that personality and he just had fun out there on the field. When he did it, it almost seemed like he was just doing it for fun. It wasn't like choreographed. So, I loved Billy. He went out there and did his rendition of it at this stage in his life, and I thought it still looked pretty good. But there's only one Billy White Shoes Johnson.
The man's knees move different. Like, I'm convinced. Like, my knees don't move like that. And he's got a considerable amount of age on me, Warren. Like this,
exactly.
He's a very, very unique. I mean, he all but invented the touchdown celebration.
He really did. Way back when, him and I think Crazy Legs Hirsch, I think maybe had something to do with it as well. But yeah, Billy, he should be going up on that Ring of Honor because he was a great Houston Oiler when he played. He also, did a great job for the Atlanta Falcons. But it's long overdue that he's going up there, but definitely deserved.
Warren Moon, at WMoon1 is where you follow him on Twitter. The Hall of Famer kind enough to give us some of his time today. Warren, always a great pleasure to have you on the show, and we appreciate you taking some time.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.